Alright, so what I wanted to do today was kind of go over what is coming out over the next, year or two. We're reaching the end of 2021 now, and there isn't really any more releases coming out. There's a few, and there's like one or two, maybe, but nothing big. So what I'm going to do is kind of look at my most anticipated, I guess, horror games coming out, whether it's, next year or the year after, because there's a few we know of that are coming out in 2023. Just a few that have kind of been mentioned. And this is not like rumoured stuff, like a Silent Hill game or anything like that. This is stuff that has been announced and is coming out. It varies in levels of horror, but it still kind of fits the bill. And there is no particular order. Just the games I've been looking at a lot, and I'm waiting for them to come out. So we're going to jump through. There's about 4 or 5 of them together. Let me know your thoughts on the games I am looking forward to, and if you are as well. And let's get into the first one. Alright, so speaking of last releases of the year, this one comes out on Thursday, I believe. I don't think it's been delayed, so I'm pretty sure it's Thursday. This is Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. I have never really liked the Five Nights at Freddy's games, really. I just think the gameplay that they have is very limited. It's just not really kind of anything interesting at the minute. The story I've heard is really good and a bit in depth, and that's probably cool for people who enjoy the games, but the gameplay, I just couldn't play it. Like, I don't want to play a standing still jump scare sim. Like, it's not fun. But this, very different. This one, you are free to move around. They're like more like pursuer types from, like newer Resident Evil games, where, you have to hide, you can't fight them, and there's probably plenty of tricks to get past them and stuff like that, and it's a fully explorable map as well, like you're not just stuck in a room, which is very interesting. I like that. So I'll definitely be checking this out when it comes out. Maybe not immediately, it's not at the top of my list, but it's definitely piqued my interest with the fact that you can move around now. And I'm sure the story is very, very good as well. I'll probably have to kind of figure that out as I go. But it's like a lot of fun. Doesn't look like it's really going to be scary, because I don't really find the Five Nights at Freddy's kind of aesthetic very scary, and it was all just kind of basic jump scares, so it's not really anything special. But it's out on the 16th of December, and I'm quite interested to see what it's all about. Next up, we have something that was announced quite recently. It was actually announced at the Game Awards on the pre-show of the night, which was last week, I think now. And this really was a surprise to me. I didn't expect this. If you're familiar with the studio Gun Media, they made the Friday the 13th game. It did eventually stop seeing support, and I believe they took their own servers down. It was a whole lawsuit issue with the original owners of the character and the story. So they made a new game, and this one is based around the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, which is Leatherface. If you don't know who he is, I'm sure you can recognise his face. Good movies, honestly, good movies, especially the first few. But this is a multiplayer horror game based in Texas Chainsaw Massacre world, so that is definitely something that's very interesting to me. Not much info yet, but still very much looking forward to it. Next up, Dying Light 2. Dying Light is amazing. The first game is incredible. Not really a horror game, but in a sense, it's a zombie game, so it's there, but it's more of an action game. Anyway, Dying Light 2 looks like it's going to be incredible, and everything I've seen gameplay-wise when they first announced it, it did get delayed. It was going to be out like next week, I think, but it got delayed till February, March time, I think. But the gameplay we've seen, the trailers we've seen, the things we know about the game, where your choices impact the world around you, you can kind of work with different factions, the parkour being back and better than ever. It's just such a good game. Like, if you haven't played the first game already, 100% recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It's multiplayer as well, so you can play with your friends, and I can't wait for Dying Light 2. Still kind of waiting around for Dead Island 2, because apparently it's still a thing, but for now, this is just going to be a big one for me, and this is out early next year, so not long to wait. Can't wait to see what this game has in store. Another multiplayer game coming out, I believe, next year, I think. Outlast Trials. Now, I've made a video in the past about Outlast, the first game more specifically, and I'm not a fan of that game. I think, in my personal opinion, it's a bit overrated. It is very much just another jump scare sim where you walk around and you can't really do anything about what happens, and in a sense I understand that kind of, I get it. I get that kind of gameplay style, people like that kind of horror game, and that's fine, but not for me. Anyway, the Outlast Trials is a multiplayer game. I believe it's a co-op game, and you and your friends are essentially tasked with trying to escape certain like survival situations that the game puts you in against certain monsters and stuff like that. Looks like a lot of fun, and I'm sure, again, it'll be a really good game to play with your friends. Maybe not too scary because you're playing it with people and it kind of removes the horror a little bit, but definitely something to look forward to, and definitely a nice change of pace and direction for Outlast, so looking forward to it. Next up we have the Callisto Protocol. This is an interesting one. This got announced last year, I believe, or maybe the beginning of this year. It is made by a group of people who worked on the original Dead Space game. So that's already a big deal. Obviously Dead Space is one of the kind of staple horror games, especially the first two. And this, there's not much information about what it is. It's definitely a kind of horror game based on other worlds. At least that's what you can tell from the trailer. More of a cinematic than anything else. Definitely a futuristic type game. But the enemies you seem to face in it are more like mutations or monsters of some kind, and that's already interesting to me. It definitely has a Dead Space vibe based purely off of that anyway. And this is out next year, I think, so far anyway. Looks very interesting. Definitely check out the trailer fully without me talking over it if you haven't already. Definitely want to pay attention to, because the people who made Dead Space made a brilliant game with Dead Space, so I'm sure they could pull off the same thing here. Next up, a big announcement that was revealed at the Game Awards last week. Finally, there is a sequel coming to Alan Wake 2, obviously. 2023 is a release. I am currently thinking of starting to play the original because it's finally out on PlayStation consoles as a remaster, but Alan Wake 2 is set for 2023, and from what the developers have said, it leans more into survival horror than action compared to the first game, so it's going to be a lot more scary, which is what you love to see. So definitely going to be checking this out when it launches in a couple of years time, and we'll be covering the first game on the channel quite soon, so that'd be cool. And last, but of course, probably not least, the Dead Space remake. This is going to be fucking awesome. I'm not sure on the release date yet. It could be this, it could be next year, it could be 2023, but I cannot wait to play this again. From what I've heard, they're trying to keep it as original as possible. I think recent-ish news stories have said that some stuff might be cut and some other stuff might be added in, so there is some different things compared to the original, but my god, Dead Space 1 and 2 are incredible. I cannot wait for this to release. It's going to be incredible. But that's going to do it. There is a few games coming out in the next few years that I am very, very excited to see what they're like and just the development of them, and it's going to be wild. It's going to be great, and that's just the confirmed, definitely coming out things. I'm sure there's other things under wraps that we are kind of yet to see. Obviously, a few mentions outside of those things. Resident Evil Village DLC will probably be out next year now. I'm very doubtful it'll be out this year now, but that'll be coming. Reverse should release if it isn't cancelled. Maybe there'll be the Resident Evil announcement. Maybe it'll be the 4 remake, or Outrage for Switch. They could be announced next year, so that'd be interesting. But I'm sure there's other things coming that we don't know about yet. But Let me know what you think about what games I'm looking forward to. I'm sure you all have some of the same opinions or different. Thank you all for watching, as always, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.